Grateful for your attendance tonight. We're going to listen to Brother Grieves speak to us on the topic of peace.
He needed to pull out his phone to introduce me. Makes me feel real good, don't it? I love this church. You have good elders. They're very encouraging. They put a smile on my face. They lift me up when I see them. They're deacons. The members here are just precious. My spiritual journey began right here. And I said my vows of marriage right here in this room. Told Olivia just a while ago, those steps right there is where I first saw my bride in her dress. I'll never forget that moment. So a lot of good memories here, Case. And I appreciate all of you for having me here tonight. The gospel of Christ is the power of God to salvation. And this message was preached in Galatia. Paul had visited them on his second missionary journey. And then he visited them again to establish them in the faith. And then he left. And when he left, the enemy came in. Teachers would come in and corrupt this powerful, saving message. And so Paul here in Galatians, he writes this letter to root out these errors of the Judaizers and to establish his apostolic authority. And if we open to the book of Galatians, we will observe that Paul is in distress here. I mean, just look at it, beginning at verse 6 in the first chapter. He says, I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Christ into another gospel, which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Christ. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which he preached unto you, let him be accursed. I love this next verse because he says, let me repeat myself, basically. As we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you that you have received, let him be accursed. For do I now persuade men or God, or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ. Read verse 1 of chapter 3. O foolish Galatians. Whoa. Who hath bewitched you that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ had been evidently set forth, crucified among you? Then going over to verse 4 or chapter 4, read with me verse 9. But now after that we have known God, or rather are known of God, how turn ye again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto you desire again to be in bondage? Verse 11, I'm afraid of you, or I'm afraid on your behalf, because you've fallen away. They were turning to a perverted gospel, falling from grace, stopped obeying the truth. They were consuming one another, strife, hatred, division, anger. And Paul's plea to them is simply this: change. By letting Christ shape you. And so he exhorts, now we're in chapter 5, verse 16, this I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would. But if you be led of the Spirit, you're not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have also told you in the time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit, it's not an apple, it's not a kiwi, it's love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. That works of the flesh, that leads to bondage. That's the enemy. But the fruit of the Spirit, there's your ally. In there is freedom. The word for fruit is used primarily to refer to the fruit or produce of a tree. And we find the general figurative sense of consequence, result, or profit. And we're discussing the fruit of the Spirit. I mean, it's a simple series. We know it. We study it over and over again, and that's a good thing. Renewing of the mind. So you've discussed so far love and joy. And I have the honor and privilege to talk to you about peace. Peace is something that we always want, whether we know it or not. Something that we always want. We want to be in that state of tranquility. We want to be free from oppressive thoughts and emotions. We used to go to H&R Block to do our taxes. They get it all together and all set and done, ready to check out, right? This is how much it's going to cost, by the way, to prepare. But I've got another option to add on. If you want this, it's called the peace of mind. Well, what's that for? I hired you to do my taxes. I should already have peace of mind. Well, this is just in case the IRS is going to audit you. Well, that's why I hired you. I bought it. Gave me peace of mind. We have valuables, right? We have homes, we have lives, we have health, we have vehicles. What do we buy so that we can have peace of mind? Insurance. The world may think of peace as simply the absence of war, but it's much more than that. Irene. We say it here, Irene. Anybody here named Irene? Guess what? Your name means peace. Probably from the verb iro, which means to join. So we're going to break down peace in three concepts. Most importantly, peace with God, and then peace with others, and then peace with ourselves. Let's look at it. Number one, there's a separation. God knows it, but He wants peace with you. It's incredible, because I'm the one who caused that separation. Well, what do you mean? Well, let's go to the book of James and look at it with me in chapter 1, beginning at verse 13, where he says, "Let no man say when he is tempted, I'm tempted of God. It's God's fault that I'm tempted." No, let no one say that. Why? For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth He any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his possessive pronoun, own lust. His own lust, and enticed. Either tempted when he's drawn away and enticed. And when lust hath conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. Oh, now we have consequences. Sin has consequences. God told Adam, because he loves him, here's this garden. All these trees are yours, except that one. Don't touch it. Don't eat of it. But we know what happens. The woman saw that the tree was good for food. It was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, gave also unto her husband with her. What did he do? He ate it too, didn't he? Rebellious. Huge consequence. Paul addresses that. He said, wherefore, as by one man's sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. Some would say, well, what does that have to do with me? I didn't eat the fruit. Well, I probably would have. And if it would have made it this far, it'd probably been me who did that. Caused a separation. And so God, who knows that we need this peace, He's the one that takes the initiative and offers it to us. It is a product of the Spirit of truth. I don't deserve it. He gave it to us. By truth. What did Jesus say? This is comforting, and this should give us peace. You shall know the truth, which means it's possible. And the truth shall make you free. He prayed to the Father in Gethsemane, sanctify them through thy truth. What is truth? Thy word is truth. Friends, it tells me that truth is objective. It is not subjective. Oh, the world tries to make it subjective. It's sad. How many truths are there? Friends, let's simplify it. There's one. Simple. So He offers peace because He's gracious. We hear many in the religious world say you're saved by faith alone, by grace alone, through faith alone. There's so many alones, I don't know what the right alone is now. But they don't understand what it means. What does it mean by being saved by grace? Well, again, Paul addresses this. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men. What's it doing? It's teaching us, isn't it? Teaching us that of denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. That's how we're saved by grace, but that's His part. Faith is our part. He offers peace by His truth. And we obtain peace when we obey the truth. What did Peter say? Seeing you have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren. See that you love one another with a pure heart fervently. Paul said, but God be thanked that you were the servants of sin, but you've obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you, being then made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness. Romans 6:17 and 18. Listen, one of my favorite words in this verse, were. You were the servants of sin. That means we could change. How do we know how to change? How do we know that we need to change? It's the fruit of the Spirit. He offers it to us by His Word, the truth. He desires peace with you. And these people, when they obeyed that form of doctrine, they're no longer servants of sin. Now they have become servants of righteousness. I'm so thankful for that. It gives me a peace of mind. There's no guessing in this. Peace with God is our greatest need. If we don't have it, one day we'll never have it. What about this? Peace with others. Matthew 7:12, our Lord says in the Sermon on the Mount, therefore all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, that this is the law and the prophets. What do we call that? Treat others like you want to be treated. What is that called? Thank you. It's like one person says good evening, one person says the golden rule. That's right. The golden rule. That's exactly what it is. We call it that. All right, but I want you to notice something in this verse. Okay? Notice that Jesus said do and not don't. He says do and not don't. He's focusing on activity, action. Now that tells me that we should be doing meaningful things for other people. Notice the word therefore. Recorded in the first 11 verses, Jesus had taught lessons concerning unjust judgment, judging, and the proper attitude toward others with regard to giving. Let the golden rule guide you in those things. For example, when it comes to making judgments, I want to be given the benefit of the doubt. I don't want anyone to just jump to conclusions, right? We need the whole story. We're supposed to be judging, yes. How? With righteous judgment. So there's a whole story here. But yet, we fight these tendencies to just jump to conclusions. Golden rule says don't do that. So if I want to be given the benefit of the doubt, I don't want people jumping to conclusions on me. Therefore, I will do that for them. I will give them the benefit of the doubt, and I will not jump to conclusions on them. That makes sense? It's pretty simple, isn't it? This principle can be used in virtually every one of life's situations. It causes me to ask myself, if I were him, how would I like to be treated? And once I answer that question, I act accordingly. Golden rule offers peace. And the result would be amazing if the whole world would just apply this one verse. I mean, you think about our country. You think the golden rule is being followed in the United States of America? Absolutely not. I've never seen such a division in my lifetime. Hatred is rampant. Our nation is torn. But if they would simply go to the book instead of banning the book, man, they would fix a lot. Society would be reformed, cities would be safe, crime statistics would plummet. But then we've got our government scratching their head. How do we lower the crime rate? Instead of running to the book, they go to the other extreme. Well, how about we just treat the criminals nice and lower the standard and make it easier on them, or perhaps don't even report their crimes? That'll lower our statistics. Well, technically, I guess. How about we get them to quit doing it? Banning Bibles and prayer in public schools, that sure didn't help. It is so awful out there. They are running to extremes, to religions that promote the very thing they blame Christians on. The Bible explains the functions of government. By the way, God instituted government. We're instructed to pray for our leaders. Are we doing that? Well, I don't like them. I disagree. Are you still praying? What about in the home? If we applied the golden text, how would the home be? What about our families? Again, this country is demoralizing the home, trying to change the shape of it. 2 dads, 2 moms, adopted children, single parent homes. It's causing chaos. But if we applied the golden rule here, then broken homes would end and mend. The high rate of divorce today would fall tomorrow. Spousal and child abuse would be no more. By the way, I've read recently that the divorce rate is falling. Do you want to know why? Nobody's getting married. Oh, they're playing house. That's not the way God intended it. What about the church? Divisions would stop. No more splits. There'd be more unity. That's His intention. There'd be less talk and more work. The results are golden, just like the command. You see, this right here, this golden rule, this is not a suggestion. It's not an option. It's a command. Jesus said, if you love me, what? Post pictures of Obi-Wan Kenobi and scroll down Facebook and say, I love Jesus. You saw people doing that, right? People with a beard automatically assume it's Jesus and they hit like. Oh, I love Jesus. No, it says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Thus, if I love Jesus, I'm going to treat others as I want to be treated, because that's in harmony to His will. So the requirements of this, that means I have to be considerate. I want to give others the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes I'm the one who hastily jumps to conclusions. If I do that, then I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. We want others to be patient with us, but are we patient with others? If I sin against someone, I hope that person will come to me and talk to me rather than spread it throughout the community. Get a bunch of people on their side. I don't want that, so I must be considerate too. Showing consideration toward others would halt evil suspicions, evil speaking, gossip, backbiting, abuse, harsh and unjust criticisms, and so on and so on. So we have to be considerate, but we also, number 2, must be consistent. We don't want to be labeled as hypocrites. So let us be consistent in the words that we use. We will not praise a person to his face and then stab him in the back somewhere else. That's not consistent nor considerate. Consistency in speech will help eliminate slander and other sins of the tongue. So be considerate, be consistent, and then confront pride. Cannot apply the golden rule if we're all wrapped up in ourselves. You know, there are people who are going through legitimate trials and tribulations. And it's awful. The Lord's grieving with you. We're all grieving with you. Perhaps you could be a light to someone else who's facing a similar trial and tribulation. You have to look at it instead of thinking, well, why am I the only one who is suffering? Or why me? Think about it this way. Why not me? And then allow God to use you to be a light to that other person. What an honor that is, to have that opportunity. By the way, is that not the mind of Christ? Left heaven, didn't he? Lived a life of poverty. Treated horribly. Persecuted. Beaten. Carried his cross. Nailed to it. Lowered himself for your sake. You see, I remind myself of that. And I think upon that, and so I can't have the audacity to ask, why me? I can't. So am I, what's on my shoulder? Is it a chip? Or is it the cross? Peace with others. Speaking of Philippians, we'll go to Philippians 4 for this last point. And this may be difficult to many. I know it is to be, if I could be real with you. Peace with self. Talked about in the introduction about peace of mind. That's what we need. That's what we desire. Because there's a silent killer. It's called anxiety. I would bet, and I don't bet, but if I said, show of hands, if any of you, are any of you anxious? I would say about 99, if not 100% of us would raise our hands. Well, sure. Got a lot going on in this life, but it's rampant. And if we allow it to fester inside of us, I have no inner peace. And it's a silent killer. Heart attacks, high blood pressure, stress. I mean, it's killing you not only spiritually, but physically. But the Bible has an answer for that. Verse 1, chapter 4, Philippians. Therefore, my brethren, dearly beloved. He loved the Philippians. My dearly beloved and longed for. My joy and crown. So stand fast in the Lord, my dearly beloved. Skip down to verse 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say rejoice. Kind of hard doing that when I'm anxious. When I'm focusing only on the negative. Why do we do that? In case you know what I'm talking about, you know, We preach a sermon, we're exhausted, and 99% of them will say, good job, attaboy. One person may have even if it's constructive, a criticism. Guess what I'm dwelling on all day? Why do I do that? It's hard. We focus on the negative. But this fruit of the Spirit, the Inspired and Spirit Word, gives us a remedy to this. Friends, we can have communion with God. Look at verses 6 and 7. He says, be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. And I'm telling you right there, that is so important. People overlook Thanksgiving, but friends, read Romans 1. The first step to apostasy is ingratitude. Well, I have nothing to be thankful. I'm suffering here. I'm anxious. You could be thankful for that, actually. Read James, the beginning of James. By prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the what? What does it say? The peace of God, which passes all understanding. Maybe that's why we're like, well, I have nothing to be thankful for. I'm suffering. But I have to understand that you can have peace even in your suffering. With peace that passes all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. So this right here makes us mindful of God's blessings. His blessings meet our needs every time. Every time. And if we reflect on them, it will bring us out of our rut. And friends, look, we can bring our requests to Him. Why? Because we are righteous ones. Therefore, we have the power and privilege of making our requests made known unto God. You have access to the Creator. In this way, we can unburden our soul. We obtain God's help. Today, many Christians spend a great deal of time and effort looking for blessings already available to us. They pray for God's light, although the light is supplied. It's the fruit of the Spirit. It brings peace. Do you notice peace of God, verse 7, which passes all understanding, shall keep. That's a military term right there. Guard. It's like guarding our hearts as a garrison or a fortress. Keeps out all disturbing influences. This peace is indescribable. About controlling our thoughts. For our thoughts, let me ask you this. Do our thoughts keep us awake? I know elders who hardly sleep because of situations within their flock. We could go to bed with nothing physically wrong and lie awake hour after hour worrying about tomorrow or about what somebody said. But what can keep our worry under control? Verse 8, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, what? Think on these things. Meditate on these things. Dwell on these things. Allowing these things to shape our conduct. This is how we guard our minds. We've got to be consistent in living because anxiety could derive from being inconsistent. Verse 9, those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me do, and the God of peace shall be with you. You know, Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me, and I give unto them eternal life. They shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. You know, people use that verse, they abuse that verse from once saved, always saved. Friends, but right there is the answer to that. There's a condition. My sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they what? Follow me. Therefore, if I'm not hearing and I'm not following, I'm allowing people to pluck me out of his hand. Be consistent. Consistency is living true to Christ's teachings. Verse 10, but I rejoice in the Lord greatly, and now at the last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but you lacked opportunity. They supported Paul despite being poor. Contentment in God's will, verses 11 and 12, not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I've learned to be content. And I can because I have Christ, because you know the very next verse. Look at it. It's almost, a lot of people have this verse tattooed on their body somewhere. I think Will Levis does. I can do all things through Christ which strengthen me. Christ is Paul's enabler. He said, I can do. That means I am able. I can do what? I can do all things consistent with God's will. Strengthens. Christ is the source of strength. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. Only Jesus can bring peace in your life. Because of him, we can have peace with God. We can have peace of mind. Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. John 14 and 6. He leads us to the Father. He allows us to sleep soundly. He makes it possible to have peace with my fellow man. I guess that second bell means I'm done. But you said quarter till. And that big old clock back there says 7:43. But I'm going to stop right there. I love this man, by the way. I meant to say that. I'm so thankful that he's the preacher here. He's ambitious. He is a hard worker. He loves the Lord and he loves his people. He loves his brethren. He proves it all the time. And I'm very, very thankful for him. And I'm thankful for you. And I'm done.
Where's Daddy? Here.